Le problème, c'est qu'on n'est pas certain qu'on puisse garantir un climat suffisamment serein, si on veut.
Why is it that in every single election, there has been a desire by the Leaders' Debates Commission to prevent certain journalists from accessing the proceedings and asking questions of leaders of parties in this country?
La commission a décidé qu'il n'y aurait pas de point de presse des chefs ce soir parce qu'on ne sent pas qu'on est capable d'assurer un environnement propice à la tenue de cet événement.
Alexandre pour Rebel News, ici à Ottawa pour couvrir le comité permanent de la procédure et des affaires de la Chambre des communes, qui se penchait aujourd'hui sur les débats des chefs. Le témoin du jour était Michel Cormier, commissaire lors de la dernière élection fédérale.
Je me questionne à savoir, est-ce que ça ne fait pas partie directement du mandat de la commission, l'organisation de ces points de presse-là? Est-ce que ça répond vraiment à l'intérêt public, le fait d'abdiquer votre responsabilité sur l'organisation des points de presse?
Bon, d'abord, ça ne fait pas partie du mandat de la commission. On avait accepté de s'en occuper pour s'assurer que ça se fasse. Le problème, c'est qu'on n'est pas certain qu'on puisse garantir un climat suffisamment serein, si on veut, pour les chefs de parti. Alors, c'est pour ça qu'après avoir évoqué, ces problèmes avec beaucoup d'experts, avec des associations de journalistes, même aussi avec les partis politiques, on est venu à la conclusion que la meilleure façon de s'assurer qu'il n'y a pas de dérapage, pour nous, c'était de ne plus s'occuper de ces points de presse. En ce sens-là, je veux dire, les journalistes ont l'occasion de parler aux chefs de parti tous les jours, en conférence de presse, ceux qui suivent les chefs. Alors, on se dit que c'est simplement ce modus-là qui prend le dessus une fois que les débats sont terminés. Mais ça ne veut pas dire qu'il n'y en aura pas, mais ce ne sera pas la commission qui va s'en occuper.
Vous avez tous vu comment les médias traditionnels ont réagi à notre présence, que ce soit par des perturbations verbales pendant nos questions, des lancers de papier sur les tables, des accusations dirigées contre nous, la diffusion de désinformation à notre sujet, ou encore l'appel à de la sécurité lorsque nous demandions un droit de réplique.
Sorry, I didn't get your outlet.
Drea Humphrey with Rebel News.
Okay.
Your party...
You know I'm going to go with this, all right?
Yeah, after you guys threatened to sue, so that's why they got the 4 questions, because the commission... You're making that up. You're lying again. When did the CBC get 4 questions? Yesterday. Yes, after they had already told it to you because you threatened to sue.
You're a disgrace to journalism, buddy. Shut up.
I can do the job of one of me to do the same job you clearly need 5 reporters to do. So am I the disgrace, or is it all of the people you needed to do the job I do by myself?
Congratulations, Ezra.
Leurs actions ont créé un environnement de travail hostile pour les journalistes indépendants. L'un de mes collègues, Lincoln Jay, a même été bousculé physiquement par un caméraman d'un média traditionnel. Malgré notre professionnalisme et notre concentration, surtout sachant que les débats des chefs représentent la seule occasion tous les 4 ans de confronter directement les chefs de parti, nous avons été accusés d'avoir créé ce soi-disant environnement dangereux. La CBC a même rapporté que la commission des débats des chefs avait dû faire appel à la GRC pour des raisons de sécurité. Or, nos demandes d'accès à l'information démontrent que cela n'est jamais arrivé. Aujourd'hui, M. Cormier a annoncé que la commission ne gérerait plus la mêlée de presse, ce qui revient à l'annuler. Il a affirmé que cela ne relevait pas du mandat de la commission. En réalité, cette décision survient après que la commission ait perdu 2 fois en cour fédérale contre nous, utilisant l'argent des contribuables afin de nous empêcher d'avoir accès aux débats ainsi que les autres médias indépendants. Ils ne savent donc plus comment nous bloquer. Nous connaissons déjà l'attitude de Michel Cormier envers les journalistes indépendants. Rappelez-vous sa tournée médiatique au lendemain de la première mêlée de presse.
On avait tenté d'empêcher Rebel News de participer à ces points de presse parce que moi, je suis d'accord avec Chantal que ce ne sont pas des journalistes comme on l'entend. Ben, on a une longue histoire avec les demandes d'accréditation de Rebel et en 2019 et 2021, lors des élections, on avait rejeté leur demande d'accréditation. Pour ces raisons, on ne considérait pas que c'était des médias ou des journalistes professionnels.
Sachant désormais qu'ils ne peuvent pas nous interdire légalement l'accès aux prochains débats, la solution de la commission est simple, abolir complètement le Scrum des chefs. Après la séance du comité, j'ai demandé à M. Cormier s'ils acceptaient une entrevue après celle d'Andrew Lawton, ancien journaliste de True North et aujourd'hui député conservateur. Il a d'abord accepté, puis a demandé de quels médias nous venions. Peu après, il a quitté les lieux discrètement pour éviter notre entrevue.
Vous êtes avec?
Avec Rebel.
Oui, ça je pensais.
Est-ce que ça vous dérange d'attendre un petit 10 minutes? Je veux juste parler avec M. Lawton. Est-ce que ça vous dérange? Nous avons toutefois pu parler au député Andrew Lawton et voici ce qu'il avait à nous dire.
You have some citizen journalists that you don't like, and you can't, even for one day for 4 years, you can't keep a lid on it.
And you guys have been swearing at us and yelling at us, and you take no accountability for your unprofessional behavior. When we simply ask questions you guys don't like, that's it. And you know that the other guy was screaming at us first. You all saw it. We have been journalists, and you continue to get the story wrong. It's on video. We've been heckled, yelled at. They're throwing paper in the back. You all see it. None of you are reporting it.
As a journalist, before I became a member of Parliament, I had to engage with the Leaders' Debates Commission, in which True North and subsequently Rebel News as well were granted authorization to accredit. But the instinct of the Leaders' Debates Commission in the 2019 election was to draw a line and not permit independent media from attending the debate and attending scrums where there was the opportunity to pose questions to leaders. In the 2021 election, there was a bit of a different approach. Some independent media, myself included, were accredited. Some were not. The Leaders' Debates Commission once again went to court and was unsuccessful. And then in 2025, there was a broader accreditation, but in the end, scrums were abruptly canceled, thus denying independent media the opportunity to ask questions of party leaders. So why is it that in every single election, there has been a desire by the Leaders' Debates Commission to prevent certain journalists from accessing the proceedings and asking questions of leaders of parties in this country?
Well, if we go back to 2019, the media that we thought did not deserve accreditation were media that we did not believe adhered to professional standards and had demonstrated that they were more advocates than actually journalists. Same thing in 2021. Now, we lost the cases in court because the court told us that the Commission does not have the authority to decide that. And since there is no legal definition of journalism, the court is not in a position to actually solve that question. So we lost those two cases. We took stock of that, and for 2025, we decided to widen the definition of what the media organization is. If you produce content on Canadian affairs, you're in. So that's on that basis that we actually admitted the media.
But anyone can watch the debate on YouTube or on television. The critical difference between being accredited as a journalist by the Leaders' Debates Commission and not is access to the scrums. Now, I understand you're moving away from scrums in the future, but that is precisely the point here, where there was an opportunity to say Canadians deserve access to political leaders, and at every single election, the Commission has put a barrier where only certain journalists, namely, elite parliamentary press gallery journalists, would meet the criteria of what you constitute as a journalist. And when everyone was allowed in, you canceled the scrums altogether. How is that keeping with transparency?
We accredited 60 different media organizations this time and a wide variety of new media.
Canceled the scrums.
Yes, because we could not guarantee a proper environment for press conferences. I mean, I was in that press room during the debates, and there was too much tension, too much argument. You know, that's the last thing I wanted to do is to cancel the scrums. I believe in accountability and access to leaders, but you know, it has become too disruptive for the public interest of the commission and of the debates, and I'm truly sad about that. But that's the case.
Well, look, I think at the end of the day, we had debates before the Leaders' Debates Commission existed. There was a process that worked. The question that I would ask is, are we getting anything more out of this than we were before? And I don't think we are. And we're spending a lot of money. And it's not just the debates, it's what the commission is doing between elections. So look, the question is, what are Canadians getting for it? That's, I think, a question we have to ask with any government expenditure.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau. Alexa pour Rebel News. Donc, M. Trudeau, je vais revenir rapidement sur ce qui s'est passé hier. Vous avez diabolisé l'un des rares médias qui ne reçoit pas d'argent du gouvernement. Vous avez exprimé votre opinion en disant que nous propageons la désinformation. Si c'était vrai et si c'était le cas, la Cour fédérale ne nous aurait pas permis d'être ici aujourd'hui. Je suis moi-même scientifique et je me base sur les faits. Ma question est la suivante. L'Israël est l'un des pays les plus vaccinés au monde. Ils sont rendus maintenant à leur 4e rappel de vaccin. Ils ne considèrent plus que ceux qui ont reçu 2 doses de vaccin sont pleinement vaccinés. Ma question est, plusieurs Canadiens ne désirent pas avoir un rappel de vaccin. Allez-vous leur enlever leurs privilèges reliés au passeport vaccinal? Et aurez-vous l'obligeance de répondre à ma question en tant que premier ministre ou allez-vous encore diaboliser mon média?
J'ai partagé ma perspective sur ton organisation hier soir. J'ai plus rien à dire.
Ça demande bien qui vous êtes. Merci. Why did the government nationalize the debates in the first place? Was it purely so they could control which journalists would be accredited?
Well, whether that was the design or not, I don't know, but that certainly has been the outcome. We know in the first two, in all of the leaders' debates hosted by the Leaders' Debates Commission, independent journalists have been subject to targeting to get them out of it. I was involved in this as a journalist, as were you, and in the last election they accredited lots of journalists, but we know that they ended up cancelling the scrum. So once it's government making the decisions, there's an entirely different standard than if private organizations are, and I think that's the big challenge we have to deal with here. If a private individual hosts a debate and decides to not invite someone, that's a private decision. When government's doing it, you have charter rights to freedom of expression and freedom of the press that are engaged, and I think that needs to be part of the discussion.
And the Debate Commission has lost twice in a row in federal court when they tried to censor independent journalists. Should someone at the Debate Commission be fired for their repeated unconstitutional conduct?
I think that government needs to abide by the Constitution. That's key. I'm not going to get into how the responses should be there, but the government is not the body that should be deciding what a journalist is. Every time this has been attempted, it has failed. I'm glad the federal court has been so consistent that is not the role of government. But at the end of the day, governments need to protect freedom of expression, and within that, freedom of the press.
We heard it today. They have a recommendation to cancel the press media after the debate, so they cannot actually deal with independent journalists. Mm-hmm. You actually interacted about it. What do you think about it? Because they say that they want to reach more people, they want to make it more accessible, but in the same time, they prefer that independent journalists is not there.
Well, I think that one of the questions that I would ask here is about what are they trying to achieve? Because hosting a debate that is published online, that anyone can watch or listen to free of charge is one thing. Their position, and I'm sympathetic to it, is that it's not their job to make decisions for what political leaders choose to do. So, I just do not believe government, if they are going to be organizing a press scrum, should be picking and choosing what constitutes and who qualifies as a journalist. And that's the problem that has dogged every single debate that the Leaders Debates Commission has hosted.
Because it's really interesting when they actually mention the professionalism of those independent journalists while never talking about the journalists who were berating to independent journalists, who were heckling them, who created the hostile environment for the independent journalists. And also the fact that in 2021, they allowed one question and no follow-up with less journalists. But this time with more journalists, they allow it a follow-up question, knowing we will not have enough time. Why they are not capable to just talk with the real facts there?
Well, look, I think that one of the big challenges that I see in the way this discussion has unfolded is that whenever government's getting involved, it puts a standard on what they have to do. And again, I mentioned earlier, respecting the charter right to freedom of the press and freedom of expression, and not arbitrarily deciding who constitutes being a journalist and who doesn't. Like, it's not the role of government to make these claims. Journalism has changed. It's a lot more of a diverse industry than it was 10 years ago. You have online outlets. You have outlets that are more left-wing oriented, more right-wing oriented, and they all have a place in the ecosystem. Now, if an individual leader doesn't want to answer questions from a journalist, that's their choice, and that has happened. Mm-hmm. But, it's about, should a government body intervene in someone asking a question of a journalist or of a politician and that politician, and I just don't think that works if it happens.
And if they don't actually do any media press after the debate, what will the Conservative Party will do about it?
Well, look, I don't know. This is not a regular committee that I sit on. There's a lot of work that will have to be done. When I learned that the Leaders Debates Commission was going to be before the committee, it was important for me to come and ask questions that have been on my mind when I was a journalist and just as a Canadian. I think, if anything, if we're going to have a nationalized body doing this, which I've always questioned the utility of, there are certain standards it needs to uphold, and we need to make sure that those are being followed. But each debate has actually had two, an English and a French.
Yes.
So 6.
Yes.
So you've done 6 things in 7 years, correct?
We've organized 6 debates in 7 years.
Okay. And what do you do on a given day?
Pardon me?
What do you do on a given day?
On a given day?
Yes.
Well, we have weekly meetings we have a small staff, mm-hmm. A full-time person who actually does the accounting, finances, administration, and a lot of other stuff. And I'm part-time, and we have another part-time employee who actually helps us with on an hourly basis.
My last question is, you literally focus a lot about what they are doing in between the debate. We see that it seems like they don't really do much, no?
Yeah, the old question from, I think it was the movie Office Space, what exactly is it that you do here? I don't know. They have a meeting a week, so maybe they're really productive meetings. I have no idea. But, the commissioner, or not the commissioner, rather, the executive director said he would provide a copy of what he has accomplished since the last election. So I'll look forward to receiving that. And perhaps, because he didn't want to give a calendar. But I hope they're doing something. We're paying money for this.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Alexa.
Les médias indépendants sont essentiels à la démocratie. Si vous voulez nous supporter et faire une contribution, vous pouvez le faire à rebelfieldreports.com et merci en avance.